Greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today we have our friend Jose from the East Coast, the Carolinas, and he's going to share a dream with us. As per my usual process, I'm just going to sit quietly and listen. We'll go through it chronologically once, then we'll go back again, try and pull out some more details, and then we'll get around to, between the two of us, trying to figure out what the hell does it mean. So, Jose, anytime you're ready, please begin at the beginning.
All right. So this is a dream I had like a few nights ago, and what seemed so off about it is how mundane and how normal it was. Like there was no weird twist. Like my dreams are usually abstract as hell, or they have some underlying narrative where like there's some ongoing story, something like that. But this one, it just seemed like a regular everyday thing. It was so boring that it really caught my attention, and I couldn't stop paying attention to all the details in the dream. How it started was my fiance and I, we were moving into this new apartment, and this new apartment, uh, it was like one of those apartments you see in like the city where they're like gentrifying the city, and they're building like a new high rise or something. It was like a really fancy looking apartment, and we were moving all of our stuff in. When we were in the actual apartment, we were setting up a bookshelf. I remember that much because I was setting books into the bookshelf, and out of nowhere, I hear a door. Like I hear the door knocking, and my fiance looks to me and she's like, "Are you gonna answer that?" And I go and answer the door. I answer it, and right before me there is this girl. I describe her as like this gothic. Like she's very much goth, but she was wearing like a white witch dress, and she had long curly blonde hair, but her dark roots were showing. She had a piercing right in the middle of her lip, and she had tattoos like on her chin, like little dots going up her chin up to her lip, and then right here on her eye, they're like little dots circling around the eye. And she was holding a pie, and she offered us a pie, and she was just like, "We saw you were new in the neighborhood, and just thought, welcome you here." And my fiance came up behind me, and she was just like, "Oh, thank you, appreciate that." Um, so she invited us to dinner later that night, and we went. I remember in the dream I was getting dressed, and I was wearing like black everything. Like I was wearing a black hat, black pants, black like shoes, black everything. And I couldn't really tell what my fiance was wearing. It's like while we were on our way to the neighbor's house, she was always in my peripheral, so I couldn't really see what she was wearing. But I knew that I was wearing all black. So we walked out the door, and we walked up to their door. It was a red door, and the number on the side said 620. And we rang the doorbell, and she opened it up, and she was still wearing the same white dress, uh, blonde hair, everything. Like her face is so vivid in my memory, it bothers me, honestly. And her husband was like right behind her, and her husband was wearing like this big hat, like like the hat that the Undertaker would wear. Like I don't know if you watched like WWF,
Yeah.
but like that hat that the Undertaker would wear, he was wearing that, and he was wearing like a really long coat, and he was wearing like black platform boots, and he had silver rings all on his fingers. All like every one of his fingers had like silver rings, and the one that stood out the most was like the one in his his left hand. It had like this raven on it. It was like the skull of a raven, And that, I don't know why that particular ring stood out more than the others, but definitely did. So they invited us in for like a little house tour before dinner. And so we're walking around, and I start realizing, like, this apartment is way bigger than it should be. Like, this apartment is like 3 stories tall, and like everything on the walls is like something I saw out of like the Addams Family. Like, for real, there were certain things that I would look up at the wall and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's from the Addams Family. But it wasn't that house. It was just random things that were just like oddities were just like spread around the house. And we end up in a room, and the only thing in that room is like this toilet. It's just like this one toilet in the corner, and then the whole entire room was empty. And then we turn around, and there's 2 other people. I can't see their face, and they're all dressed in black. I can't see their face. It's all like in their face. Every time I tried to look up, like I could see the other couple that invited me over. I couldn't see the other 2 people that were there. And their faces were like all fuzzy, and they kept behind in my peripheral. We walk over to the table, and they have this nice setup. It's like this big roast ham in the middle of the table, and a bunch of like fixins and stuff everywhere. And we eat, and we pretty much like talk about like, oh, I like your wardrobe, like, oh, I like your wardrobe. We just start complimenting each other and stuff like that. And afterwards, we thank them for the meal, and we start headed to the door. We turn around, and the girl in white looks at us, and she's like, "You guys are welcome back anytime." Thank you, we really appreciate it. And we walk out the door, turn to look back one more time, door closes, and then I wake up to the sound of my alarm.
Okay, that's a lot of fantastic detail. All right, I got a lot of notes. That's pages and pages. There's a lot of detail there. I wrote really big. I skipped lines too because I wanted to create sections I could come back to. So we're gonna head into the kind of phase 3 of my little process, and this is usually the part where I stop and say, before I make suggestions about things that might have stood out to me or connections I might be making, having gone through it once and gone through it again in more detail, pulling out some extra stuff you maybe didn't think of the first time. Have you had any sudden connections that make sense to you? Like why this might have happened, how it relates to what you're thinking or feeling or experiencing in your real life?
Like the only thing, like when I woke up and I started thinking about these people, the neighbors, I started thinking about like, oh man, like I wish I had a house like that. Like I wish I was them, Like I had this sense of like wanting to be them.
Okay.
But that's pretty much all I got out of it. Any other detail is like completely lost on me, like as to what it could possibly mean.
Gotcha.
I have no idea.
Yeah, and that's not surprising. Don't feel bad, but I before I get into making suggestions, I like to just check, make sure I'm not putting my own ideas into someone's head when they already have at least maybe a hint of something that's important. And that would be the next thing I'd ask you is, did any element of the dream stand out as most significant looking back on it? Like when you were describing certain areas, behaviors, visuals,
that room that they showed me,
yeah,
like I was just thinking, why the hell did they show me that room? Like why that room? Like, that is like an empty room with a toilet in it. Like,
Yeah.
what was the purpose of showing me that room?
And it's something where you described that this dream versus other ones that are more bizarre or incoherent, this one was so normal. It had that feeling of normality to it, of like, this is almost so normal it's boring. But there were some bizarre elements that stood out. And I think there's a contrast there. There's the idea that everything is so normal, but this interior space is not the right size and shape physically. It should not be this big. There's a bizarre room. It's not a bedroom with a bed and, pretty things, but just a regular room. It's an empty, another giant room, nothing but a toilet. Very strange. So those strange, unusual, atypical elements are probably going to be something important. And it's the theory would be it's showing you kind of a not light and dark as in good and bad, but the contrast of normal versus weird. Look over here. Yeah, so I think those things will be something to focus on. Apart from just that room, any other behaviors or events, visuals, sensations stand out as tickling, like a sense of meaning? Like, you don't know why, but it seems important.
Excuse me.
That's okay.
What's up, Luna?
You gonna lay on my papers? Don't lay on my papers, son. Ayo.
Sorry about everything being so chaotic, man.
That's okay.
I wasn't expecting to pick up my stepdaughter today. I was just gonna have all this time, free, but I apologize if it's been a bit chaotic with the whole, signal coming in and out and moving about and stuff.
Honestly, par for the course. This is actually how most interviews go. People get it's real life. People get interruptions. People are late. They got shit to do. The signal doesn't work. They got kids to take care of. Roommates. Absolutely normal. Yeah. You don't see it on the show because I cut it all out. So.
Oh.
Yeah, for sure. Where are we at there? 9. Okay, so we were talking about the feeling of, say, being really impressed by these neighbors and what kind of wanting to be them in a way, and but also then standing out the room with the toilet being the most strange. And I was just asking if there was anything else that kind of stood out to you in terms of feeling significant or having some sense of importance in the dream, just looking back on it.
Just the action of, like, should I open up that door or should I not?
Okay.
Like, that felt like a really intense moment. Even though it didn't really last that long, it felt pretty intense. And I had a choice to, like, take control of the dream, but I chose to, like, ride it out.
Okay. I mean, that's a good start. It's a very, very much a good start. Actually, that may be literally a good place to start that sense of, so in terms of things that stood out to me as being important, that moment of, should I open the door? That seems to me like an important idea, that you had a choice to make and you hesitated or at least gave it consideration. You had the chance to say, I'm not dealing with people. I'm not going to open my home, myself, to an interaction with another person. And your choice was, let's, in a sense, let go of control and allow something unexpected to happen and see where it goes. Does that bring anything to mind in terms of your personality or recent philosophical dilemmas in terms of how you approach your life?
Well, for the longest time, like, I always felt like I had to do things a certain particular way. And recently, within the last year and a half or so, I pretty much just let go of trying to be in control. I pretty much found it. Uh, I don't know, just it you know, it I felt helpless because and I needed to be in control for a lot of my early 20s. And in the last year and a half or two, I pretty much just said, "Yeah, fuck it, let's see what happens." And within that last year or two, I ended up getting an apartment, a good paying job. I got a fiance now. I'm a stepfather now. Like, all these things happened within a year and a half just because I just gave up on control.
Yeah. Yeah, that does seem very significant. And that's would you say that your past feelings of kind of helplessness drove the desire for control, and something changed? Probably, well, it had to, because you made a choice to approach things differently. What I'm trying to maybe suss out is that the did that feeling of, what is it, the helplessness driving the need for control, or shit. No, I'm wrapping my brain around this. It's not getting there. What are the words I'm trying to find? There's kind of an order of operations, is what I'm trying to say. And sometimes it's like, did the feeling of helplessness fade a bit? Like stability, you had a period of stability first, and then you're like, maybe I can let go.
The more I tried to be in control, the more things just kind of just smacked me in the face, you know? Like, the
Gotcha.
world just kind of shat on me every time I tried to take control of something. And then, within the last year and a half or two, I was just like, you know what? Screw it. Life is crazy. Let's just see what happens. Open up every door I possibly can.
Okay, so there was more of a what am I trying to say? You came to the decision, maybe your approach wasn't working, so you decided to change the approach, and that after that change in approach is when maybe a string of positive consequences
Mm-hmm.
resulted. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely seems like. I mean, that's where my feeling of significance and focus comes to.
Yeah.
It's like
And
that idea of
I'm
opening the door
this.
seemed very important.
Yeah. That's just where my headspace has been at for the last year and a half to two. Is just learning to let things go. And like and when I was given the choice to open up that door or not, those feelings of no, you need to stay in control, this, that, and the other, and they came back. And I was just like, no, you're not that person anymore. You need to let go.
Yeah, and it seems like in the dream experience, the imagery, the process you went through was revisiting those emotions in that moment and reaffirming from your subconscious that you made the good decision, and kind of mirroring your actual life, where kind of reminding yourself you did this for a good reason and there were good results, and then the rest of the dream that followed is also mirroring that life choice, in that opening the door was to a good neighbor and a positive experience of being welcomed into someone else's home and having a nice meal and a tour, and meeting really great people that you're like, oh, this is great. Where have these folks been all my life? I think that's, yeah, that very much resonates, I think, huh? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
I think there's also something significant, just if we try to go chronologically. I can never do that very well, but also of moving into a new place. I mean, in real life, did you, I mean, because you got a fiance and now you guys live together, so you actually did move in together?
Yeah, we've been living in a new apartment for 5 months now.
And that apartment you moved into with her in real life represented a step up from your previous life circumstances or the quality of life. Yeah. So that's,
but it's nowhere near as fancy as the place that I saw in my dream.
it may be a kind of relative fanciness in terms of what you were used to before. You're definitely you mentioned like gentrified neighborhood. You're in a way you're kind of gentrifying your life. You've got all these upgrades coming to you through this different approach and these new relationships. So that seems like that'd be good. And then the idea of you're moving boxes in, and you see the building, and that gives you the sense of moving up, moving forward, moving to something better. But the box you brought in, you weren't unpacking something into the kitchen. You weren't putting toilet paper in the bathroom. You were unpacking books. And specifically, you knew there were other sci-fi fantasy books there, which is probably, you're a sci-fi fantasy fan. That's books you've read throughout your life. But it was specifically The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I like that too, because the first thing that came to my mind, here's my cat. He's going to lay on the papers. Of course he is. Come on, son. You should go away. This is Prince. He is a... oh, yeah, there he goes. Don't lay on the keyboard. Okay, well,
no, and
so much for those notes.
The weird thing about the book is that the book, it didn't say the title on the book or anything. I just remember the green smiley face dude with the tongue sticking out.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that's Hitchhikers.
And you remember the words printed on the front of that book?
Mm-hmm.
Don't panic.
But it wasn't on the spine though.
Gotcha. No, that's good. You knew, and that I think that's important too. But I mean, again, I don't want to put ideas in your head or words in your mouth, but my associations with that and what I think it probably meant to you is it resonates with your kind of new approach on life, which is, so what's the book about? It's about a guy who is yanked out of his comfortable existence, taken on a fantastic journey where a lot of crazy shit happens, completely out of control of his circumstances. And as a hitchhiker in the galaxy, you're just catching a ride. And the actual, there's the book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is about the book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And on the cover is the words, "Don't panic." And yeah. So that's, I think that's again, a message to yourself is you're in a new environment, and the most important thing right now before this door knock happens, don't panic. Everything's going to be fine. You're putting that into the bookshelf in your new home. And it's like that symbolic representation of giving a place of honor to that concept in your mind. That's how it popped out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have another guest?
No, I mean that pretty much, I don't know, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like when I saw it, I was just like, yeah, that's weird as a book. But when you put it into context like that, it's like, wow, like that, like of all the books that actually like stood out, like just happened to be that one. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, for sure. No, I love those connections. That's like, when it makes sense. I really do need my notes, son. I'm gonna have to move you. He's just grooming himself and drooling on the paperwork. Give me 2 seconds to kind of pick him up. Hey, sonny boy, come on. He's probably gonna bite me. Oh, there he goes. There he goes. Oh, don't squeak. Don't squeak. Come here. Be cute. Be cute for just 2 seconds. Say hi to the camera. There you go. Okay. And run away. There we go. Okay, cat time is over. The other significant thing to you, and I think we'll focus on those before I get to other things that might be relevant. The feeling of, say, wanting to be the neighbors. Of course, the idea of wanting something, but wanting to be something and wanting to be a specific representation of something.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's, and we were talking, I don't know if it was, I mean, it's all, hi son, you should keep walking. I can't even. What was I saying? Representation of something. We were talking earlier about your fascination with oddities, and that fits with the say your personality, broadly speaking, but also memories from the past, maybe from childhood, Adam's Family, and this fascination with that kind of dark Gothic environment, and in some ways being aspirational towards if you could present yourself to the world, you would want to be maybe adorned in that fashion to have that kind of Gothic presentation. I mean, I noticed you've got a little bit of you got the ear loops, so there's that. Yeah, exactly. And the hair dye. So there's leading in that direction, and they, not that you want to go the full 9.5 yards and wear the makeup and the piercings and tattoos and all of everything, but that you would say want to be seen that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You would want to represent yourself that way.
Yeah.
But I don't think
I've always like dressed very very dark. Like it's just I've like my mom always told me it was a phase, but it never went away.
Right. I hear you. Yeah. Again, parents are like that. Is my kid normal? And nobody knows. And the answer is no. None of us are. And that is completely normal. We're all into our own things. And then, we surround ourselves with, in a way, you've used the word too, stereotypical representations of those different styles or genres. But I don't think it just, so there's the visual representation, but I think that stands in for the, behavioral presentation of the people in the dream. It's in them being the ideal that you might aspire to. That's the surface level, the visuals. What's underneath it is the friendly neighbor that welcomes someone to the neighborhood and brings them into a nice home and shows them who they really are. I think does that resonate in terms of your internal aspirations? I mean, there's a surface level of looking like them and having the home, it's like the superficial level, but
I'd like to think I'm a nice guy in general. Like very very open-minded, welcoming. Yeah, I mean that connects in certain ways.
Yeah, and not that you literally want to host a dinner party, but the idea that these people into whose home you were invited also represent parts of yourself, or parts of yourself you want to expand or become more fully. I don't know if that makes sense. In terms of both how you display yourself, but then how you behave towards others. Because you got the feeling from these people that they were extremely welcoming, and they made you feel good about just you. They just liked you for who you were, and they wanted you in their home. I think.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, no, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they're the way that they acted and stuff like that is just like, they were, they were exactly the things that I would want to be. If I was in their position, where have like fancy house and I got everything, everything I could want, and have my space looking exactly how I wanted, like, and if I can express myself like exactly how I would like, it would be pretty close to the people I saw in my dream.
Yeah, and then the idea that that they welcomed the current you into that space, and it was a space you felt comfortable with. Probably, I'd say that lines up with the idea that like who you are, and you want to express it more fully. I mean, it's kind of vague, but that's where I would go with that, just off the top of my head.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's good. And not only that, but that you feel it's possible. if that makes sense. It wasn't.
Yeah, like it's not some like unreachable goal
Yeah.
or something like that, you know?
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea. That's what I was trying to reach for. I say too many words to express something very simple. I'll get that figured out at some point. What else do we got here? What stood out to me? I mean, you also had the idea of the room with the toilet in it, and that immediately after that is when you noticed there were other people there. So. Mm-hmm. Oh, he's going to do it again. He's going to do it again. Hi, son. Right on the papers. Just take a nap. That's okay. I can't. I'm going to have to make a stack of papers over here that he can lay on. Just don't hit the keyboard, whatever you do. Okay. Just going to stop the recording. I think there is something significant there. So it's the only room they took you to in their house. So say if we go with the idea of this is a representation of who you maybe want to be on the level of presenting yourself, but also who you are on the inside, expressed most fully, that aspirational idea leads you to a giant empty room with an antique toilet. And I think there's something there, but I don't know what it is yet. There's just a feeling of significance as well. Like when you brought it back up, I'm like, definitely that room. It's interesting that the room is empty, and it's interesting that it's empty except for one item. And that immediately after that, that's when you noticed that you weren't alone with this family.
Yeah, like we weren't the only guests there.
Yeah.
Up until that point, I thought that we were the only guests in the house.
Yeah, they didn't come out to greet you. They weren't visible until this moment. So, I don't know. Is that bringing anything to mind for you? I'm not sure what else to grab onto with that.
I was honestly confused as hell. Like I was like the whole entire time. I'm like, why this room? Why is there a toilet in this room? Like this is obviously like a master bedroom type room. And it's like, there's no carpet. It's just hardwood floors. And it's just like this really antique looking toilet.
Did you get a sense that it was there for display purposes or it was functional?
No, it looked functional.
Okay.
Like I looked at it. Like I remember in the dream, like looking down at it. And there was like, it looked like it was functional.
Yeah. What is, I don't know if you have any associations with toilets or in general, or the concept of what a toilet does. I mean, that comes to my mind, the function of a toilet, and if it is functional, it's there to remove things that you don't want. It's there to flush away refuse or discarded elements from your life. And there's a big empty room, and the entire purpose of that room is to be the place where the removal apparatus exists. I don't know if that's bringing anything to mind. This one's a puzzler for me. Are you looking at certain elements of your life to be rid of? Are there things you're living a more genuine life, more relaxed in terms of letting things be?
A few years ago, yes. A few years ago, there was plenty of things I would like to get rid of.
Yeah.
At this point in time, there's nothing I'd like to get rid of. Like right now, in this point in my life, like there's literally nothing that I would want to just get rid of or cut out of my life.
Okay.
Everything's pretty smooth.
Good deal. And that may be part of it. That's when you mention that. So the people that you want to be, the aspirational sense of yourself you want to accomplish, takes you to a room empty of anything other than the reminder maybe that you had to get rid of some things that were not healthy for you.
Maybe the things were in that room and they were already flushed.
Yeah, maybe that room is empty now, and they're showing you the empty room for some reason. They're showing you this room it's got nothing in it except the fact that you removed things, maybe shitty elements of your life. I don't know if that's
perhaps.
I don't know if that makes sense. I don't think we're hitting a feeling of significance or an inspirational moment for you along those lines, but it could be as simple as that. I don't know. It feels like something should be more, have a more meaningful feeling to it when we're talking about it. I don't know. We could always come back. We could always come back to it, or or leave it alone.
I mean, it's just like it's like there were some things that stood out in a dream that I was just like, okay, it kind of makes sense. Where like letting go of stuff, or like I'm welcoming new people in my life, this, that, the third. But it's like that room just tripped me out because it's like it was a master-sized bedroom, nothing but a toilet, and it worked. It was a functioning toilet.
Yeah, even though you never flushed it, you knew that it would do the job. No, you say no decorations. And you really took your time to scan the room, to look around and go, it's really just empty. This is the only thing in here. And
I did like a whole 360 of the room. There was a window, but I never approached the window.
Okay. Was the window behind the toilet? Off to the side?
No. It's like
opposite.
The toilet was like right here, and then the room like stretched out, and it was at the very far like end of the room.
Okay,
like a big window.
That's an interesting detail. Does that bring anything to mind now that you've kind of, it's the room inside the house, which is the place you would like to be or become. There's a toilet on one end and a window on the other. Windows let in light. They let in air. It's an entry or exit to other places, but it's not a door. It's more of something to look through. Maybe interesting.
And I never approached it, is why I didn't bring it up before.
Yeah.
Because I never really approached it. I didn't really see any significance to it.
Sure.
Because it's like, all I did was like, look at the toilet. I did a whole 360. I acknowledged that there was a window there. And then when I looked back at the doorway, there was the strangers standing there.
Yeah, and I think that is a significant process as well. The brought to the room, the only room you are shown in the house. You see the toilet. You see that it's empty. You see that it's long, large master bedroom style. You see one window and then the strangers in that order. And these are people that are ignoring you actively. Like they know you're there and they're not going to pay any attention to you. They are there exclusively to interact with the homeowners. So if we say those folks are aspirational, future version of yourself, everything you hope you could be or want to become, these strangers have no time for the person you used to be. And that occurs when you look at the room that represents maybe flushing away bad things from the past and a window to the outside world. I don't know if that's bringing anything to mind. Nothing. I think, yeah, shit. I think there's something there. I think I'm just not putting the pieces together myself. That might require a little more meditation. I mean, it could be a couple 3 days down the road. Something will occur to you and you can always let me know. It may be we've described it as best we can and there's just not a lot more there. Some symbols are very simple and they are what they are. That's okay. What else did I have here? I think it is also kind of significant that the walking into the dining room, these the neighbors that invited you were leading the way. You are next with your fiance. We haven't talked much about her either, but I think it's significant that she's with you in the dream instead of absent in a way that you ignore her or wish for her presence. But she's not there. She is actually with you, and I think that probably speaks to the comfort and stability you feel in your relationship. You know that you're together. You're together through this experience, and that you feel pretty confident about your connection.
Yeah, like for the most part, throughout the whole entire thing, she's not in front of me. She's not behind me. She's like literally right next to me, so I can only see her from like peripheral.
Yeah, and literally that expression of closeness. She is close to you in the dream. She is with you, not just tagging along, not just present somewhere, but literally over your shoulder in a way that doesn't feel like she's hovering, in a way that doesn't feel like can get back, but like it's entirely expected and desirable that she would be right there. So yeah, and that you guys are together following this maybe desirable future path, and behind you following are the strangers. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, if they represent a part of you that doesn't want anything to do with past behavioral approaches or mistakes, wants to leave the past behind, maybe they represent that they're following you because your past always comes with you. I don't know if that makes sense.
I guess.
Yeah, that very well could be. And you're all sitting down to eat a meal together. So the person you were, the person you are, and the person you want to become are all sharing a meal together. They're all partaking of an experience, maybe lived daily life, intake of nourishment. There's something there, but you don't remember eating. You don't remember the mundane details of the meal, because that's maybe routine in a way. What stood out was the focus on the compliments. I guess that to me that would represent reinforcing that connection of to who you want to become. You let that aspiration know it was valid. You let it know that you kind of reinforced it in your own mind, if that makes sense. Because you could have been pointing out critique. You could have been doing flaws of like, hey, your house isn't as nice as you think it is.
I found that strange how like there was no negativity being thrown at me the entire time.
Yeah, and none of it coming from you either. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I would probably say that you're very confident on the path you've chosen right now. You're not having a lot of second thoughts on the path you're taking in real life.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing fairly well, and I mean, I have no complaints as to where I am in life right now.
Yeah,
and it could have definitely been way worse. I'm only 25, but I've lived a really really long life. At least it feels like it.
Gotcha.
I've been homeless many times. I used to just get high and drunk in like hotel rooms and stuff like that. And I used to get fired from all types of jobs because I couldn't keep a job, but lately it's just like, I have a lot of baggage from the past, but I've learned to just like, that's in the past. This is now. I can't change what happened.
Yeah. That's what I was saying with the strangers that are kind of ignoring you. It's like they don't even know you. You're not the same person you were. Those people are strangers, and you never see their face. That's always something important too. It doesn't represent. It's not a specific person, and it's not a clear image. And in some ways, it's almost like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you can see their face. It was something you noticed that was unusual. It stood out.
It was like their behavior was the thing that stood out. Like, yeah, it wasn't their appearance. It was their behavior towards me. because I was only like nice to them. I never said anything that would be offensive or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they still just didn't want to have any contact. So
yeah, and that's what I was looking at too. That idea of the connection. They didn't want a connection, or there was no connection to them, and a connection in like a relationship sense. So there, if that does represent your past, it's like, yeah, I don't even know you anymore, man, or I don't want to know you, or you, not that you don't recognize that your past is still there, but it's not you anymore, is what I'm trying to say. There is no continuity or connection in your current life to who you used to be. You're not doing that anymore. That's not who you are now, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that might be what those folks are there to represent. And the fact that they don't talk to you, yeah, is that no connection. It's like there's no, you're not hanging on to what went before. You're not, what am I trying to say? It's not who you are anymore, of course. There was some specific phrasing that came to my mind. I was like, yeah, that's it. But I think I lost it.
Sometimes it just gets away from you.
It's okay. Yeah, but I think you've got the general concept. But I think that's, the fact that they were ignoring you was significant, and it wasn't rude on their part. It was more of an expression of what they were there to represent, is this disconnect from who you used to be. I guess that's all I'm trying to say. Yeah, that's okay. I get hung up on trying to say things just the right way sometimes. And I suppose the almost cartoonish ham and spread on the table, the idea of abundance, as well as the decor of the house in general, are more just representations, more things put out there to reinforce that idea of being confident of the path you're on, and that it's taking you to all the things you want in out of life or in life. I think that's probably what that represents, and the idea that it's very nourishing in a routine way, like this giant spread, this lots of food, giving you everything you need in abundance, in such a way that you can't even notice all of it as it's happening, but you know that you're getting what you need. That's why I'm thinking, why didn't you see yourself eating? You just know you've eaten, and that it was satisfying, and that you were happy to have done it. Yeah. And then you go to the door, and there is an expression of, you thank them for the meal. You thank them for nourishing you, for giving you what they had to share. And they say, you're welcome back anytime. To me, that stands out as, it seems like the dream is repeatedly, every image is hammering home that point of, this is what you want. This is, and you're on the right path to get it. And you can come back and revisit this inspiration anytime you need that reinforcement, anytime you need to remind yourself good things are coming. I'm heading where I need to be, where I want to go. That seems, the future you want is welcoming you in with a big old pie and telling you, feeding you a good meal and telling you come back anytime.
So do you think that maybe, like, in the future, if I ever, like, need that reinforcement or whatever again, like, I might see that same, I might see those two again?
It's very, very possible. Or you'll get another dream that has completely different visuals and experiences with exactly that same message. Yeah, because if there's been rather a recent change in your life from old ways of doing things, and you were able to identify what they were, why they didn't work, and how you needed to change, and then you get down the road to a certain point where it seems everything's doing well, and a little bit of you is probably worried, am I doing it right? Can I keep this up? And so you get the Don't Panic book, and you get this experience of reinforcement. So it would be, excuse me, it would be interesting to see, do you have almost exactly the same dream with some different elements? I don't know. Do you get many reoccurring dreams with some of the same themes or elements?
No, it's never reoccurring. Mm-hmm. Like I never have reoccurring dreams, but I have reoccurring setting.
Interesting.
There is, so I have dreams where sometimes I'm in like this house in the woods, and usually when I'm in that house in the woods, it signifies that some sort of horror aspect is going to happen in that dream.
Cabin in the woods style. Gotcha.
Usually when I'm in like this beach town, it reminds me of where I grew up, and when I'm usually end up in that beach town, I have like nostalgic feeling every single time I'm there.
Okay.
Whenever there's like several other different places, there's the train tracks. I always find myself on the train tracks.
Huh.
There's always like train tracks, and I always see graffiti everywhere, and I pay attention to the graffiti because the graffiti is like the most straightforward messages I can possibly like get in my dreams anyways.
Yeah.
And there's always some sort of aspect of like an oncoming apocalypse in my dreams. There's like some sort of apocalypse, but sometimes I end up in a different point in time. It's like one of my dreams, I had a dream where I was like in a house roaming around, and in the TV screen there was talks about like nuclear war happening. And then another dream, I was in the same building but in a different apartment, and then a nuke came down, and like there was a big flash of white light.
Oh, shit.
It's always the same settings, but never a recurring dream, and it's always from a different perspective.
Interesting. But this is the first time you've dreamt about, say, this apartment complex, these neighbors. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, it stood out so much because it didn't fit any of the other narratives that I'm used to.
Yeah.
Like all of my dreams, whenever I have a dream, I can usually pin down at least one thing that links it to another dream. Sure. But in this dream, everything was so off. None of it seemed familiar, but at the same time, it felt real.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of those dreams in the past seem linked to say the way you used to get by and do your thing is, but now that you've made life changes for the better, you're going to get, a different quality of or experience out of your dreams that are going to have different messages. I'm not surprised that given where you are, where you came from, and how things have changed, that this one would not be an apocalyptic, everything's about to go to shit type of dream. I mean, it very well could have been in terms of, you could have gone to the neighbor's house and bad things happened, and then that's going to represent, could have represented ideas of I'm making mistakes that are not making me welcome in this environment currently, or I'm just terribly anxious that unexpected things are going to happen to blow it all up. Yeah. Which may be waking fears, and it's normal anxieties and whatnot. But yeah, no, I think this ultimately was a dream telling you you're on the right path. Telling you feel comfortable with these decisions and that you can see positive results from the changes, and that it's moving you, closer to who you really are and who you really want to be in the world. Very, very, not just comforting or reinforcing, but some stronger word that means something like that.
But I appreciate you talking me through it, because I don't really have people that I just like, sit down and talk about my dreams with. It's just
it is kind of unusual. It's not a day-to-day thing, right?
Yeah. No, it's like I tell somebody about my dreams, and the most I get out of someone is like, "Whoa, that's crazy, dude."
Yeah. Well, I mean, and even I struggle with these things. It's like because it's all highly personal, but there are broad concepts you can kind of bring to it. Objects tend to represent what they do or how they behave in real life, and that is an image or a behavior put there because of what you're thinking or feeling about some situation. So there's, in my opinion, and there's a lot of people that disagree. Like if you watch some of the what I call the ABC videos I've got on my channel where I talk about, there's a lot of different dream theories and people who think they're meaningless kind of delusions or whatever. They're just, random neurons. And there's people who are like, no, this is messages from God. I don't go with either of those things. I'm more like, how does this relate to the function of the brain and your lived experience? That's what makes the most sense to me. But that's by no means is that the only potential interpretation.
I mean, the way I always saw it is that it's literally just a movie, but I'm not watching it chronologically. I'm watching the parts of the movie that I need to like hear or see at that moment in time.
Yeah, basically that's good.
It's like it might seem like it's off somewhere. It might seem like this one part doesn't make sense, but it's like a movie where it's like, they show you this little bit and you're like, oh, how are they going to tie that together somewhere down the line? And they eventually do. Mm-hmm. And it took me years for me to actually, I've actually drawn out maps of this city and this house in the woods that I like, and I've written down parts where everything connects. And the way that it all connects is like the train tracks. The train tracks pretty much connect all of it in my dreams.
Interesting. That you may be one of the first people I've had who has kind of like interconnected dreams in that way. There's some where one or two will have related elements, but you've got this whole like dreamscape. It's the name of my show, but this that like kind of persists across dreams. Maybe I'll run.
It's always a different perspective, but there's always like a lesson or something that I know that like I don't know how to interpret dreams. So like I can write stuff down, but I don't know what the hell it means. I just know that like, whoa, that was like a whole other part of the story that I haven't seen before. Let me write that down and connect it to that. And there's a certain point where I'm like, yo, there's a timeline here. Like there's a timeline where like I had this dream like 3 years ago, but it like takes place like right after this dream that I just had like 3 days ago. Like this is crazy. And it's like I've obsessed over writing down in journals and drawing sketches as soon as it's like I wake up, and I've made it a mission to try and connect it. And there's like certain elements where there's certain dreams that I still have not yet connected to the main little cityscape thing that's like connected by the train tracks.
I wonder if like, that might make an interesting book. I don't know if you're at all interested in being an author, but like if you have this one dream or one dream landscape that you experience multiple things and you can actually kind of place the chronology to like put them together in order and see what you get. I'd read that book. That would be weird as hell. And then I mean, not only to have say someone write a book about a bunch of experience, but to have say, this is all real. This is all an experience that I had in this. And I don't know, maybe, yeah. Anyway, I'd read that book. That's my thought.
No, it's just, I wanted to hear your opinion to see if anybody, like any other people like do that, try and like make sense of their dreams through like a movie or maybe like a map or something like that.
Yeah, there are people who draw it out, do artwork, or they definitely, sometimes dreams are Pulp Fiction style. Like one thing happens here, but that's actually at the end, but they put it at the beginning. And then by the time you get to the end, you realize.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how that's how I've learned that my dreams pretty much like there's a cause and effect. And sometimes it affects somebody that I haven't met, but in another dream that I'll have, the perspective will change to another character, and that decision that was made in a previous dream will affect that character that had nothing to do with it. It's pretty interesting.
No, it really is. It really is. And you may be the first, like I said, that has that kind of full scope to what's going on. I'd be interested to hear more about that if you have more connections, or like I said, if you ever write a book, be sure to let me know.
I've written a whole bunch of stuff down. I just wanted to talk to you about this particular dream just because of how mundane and normal it seemed, but still there was that little bit of surrealism in there that just like it just didn't stand out so much that I was like, whoa, that was weird. It seemed like a normal thing. And it really bugged me out because that's not usually what my dreams are like.
And I would also be interested to see if at some point down the road you find this place in the larger picture. Like, what if this dream is a new chapter, but it still takes place in the same environment? You just don't know where yet. You don't know, probably later than most of the other ones, I would guess. But I'd be interested to see if this is now a new landscape and you're on to a completely different area, or if it has a place somewhere in that cityscape with the train tracks and the different stuff connecting them. I mean, you may have this whole kind of subconscious metaphorical representation of yourself. You would end up being, you are the landscape, and these areas are pieces of yourself that you're identifying and experiences that you're making sense of. Honestly, I've never had it be this connected across multiple dreams. That is fascinating. I mean, you probably contact like a dream researcher at a university and give them a new subcategory of something they might have never heard of before. Maybe they'll hear this video and they'll reach out to you. Yeah.
I just wanted to see if anybody else had experienced it, because it's just like, when I was younger, I was just like, man, that place seemed familiar, like that place. Should I write this stuff down? And I started writing stuff down, and it all, like, there's dreams probably from when I was younger that probably connected to that same exact cityscape, but I just don't remember them, and I never wrote them down.
For sure, yeah. So. And hopefully anyone watching the video and then comes into the Discord, they can tell you, yeah, I've had that experience too. Hopefully that's a way they can reach out to you on there. They'll put it in the Share Your Dreams or Somniloquy channel. But speaking of dreams in general and our interview here, do you feel like we covered most of what you had on your mind?
That was very insightful. I really appreciate you walking me through that.
Yeah.
There's probably a bunch of things I would not have picked up on, but you certainly have. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you being here and sharing with us.
Again, I'm sorry it was a little chaotic, going back and forth and the phone cutting off, but we managed to hit the last I don't know how long it's been, like 30 minutes or so, but almost like a solid hour of no interruptions, no technical diffications. We finally got something sorted out. Just cat interruptions, but he's cute, so we're gonna forgive him. Well, yeah, if you are satisfied by the process, I think we'll just wrap it up, and I'll talk to you for a few minutes afterwards. And I'll say to everyone watching, that's it for this episode of Dreamscapes. If you enjoy what I do, please like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again, Jose. All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.